Welcome back, friends, to the shop. In today's video, we're going to discuss the gas shortage and 5 fuels that you need to have on hand and some things that will help insulate you from this coming crisis that I think that we're going to have to deal with this summer. Now, it doesn't really matter whether it's organic or whether this was intentional. I have my own feelings on the topic, but if I were to divulge those to you, I'd probably get my channel canceled, so we'll just leave it at that. It doesn't change the fact that we're all affected by it. And what can we do to insulate it? Now, if you haven't purchased storage cans, if you haven't purchased propane cans and those sort of things, I don't know what to tell you. I've been warning you about this for a long time. It's probably too late. I went on this line this morning just to check out of curiosity what it costs if you can buy a Wavy and 5-gallon jerry can. They're double the price. Gasoline is selling in some places for, I read this morning, $7 a gallon. Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, has declared an emergency, state of emergency in Florida. I have friends that live on the East Coast that are not able to get back home, or they're moving out west. They're not able to move right now because they can't get fuel to get across the country for the drive. So here we are. Here we are. And as a bonus, and I'll tell you, as I think 6% of my audience, it fluctuates between 3 and 6%, are women. If you are an unattached woman at this point in time, I would highly, highly recommend that you get serious, get off Facebook, get off Instagram, get off the dating sites, attach yourself to a capable man, because you are not going to want to be alone for what is coming with the new economy. We are entering clown world, we're entering upside down world. The world that you were raised in to survive no longer exists, and you're gonna have to make some serious pivot. The very first thing you need to do, and this is something that everybody could do, as I was saying, the very first thing you can do is fill up. Give me strength. 5 fuels that you should have on hand would be gasoline, diesel, kerosene, propane, and firewood, and probably in that order. Your gasoline, 97% of your cars in this country run off of gasoline. Gasoline, if it's stored properly, can last for about a year. Now, every time I do these type of videos, I always get a lot of folks in there saying, what are you doing? Don't do this. All you're doing is creating a panic that's going to exacerbate the problem. Dude, the cat is out of the bag. There's already lines. I'm not the one, I'm not breaking this. This is nothing new. Plus, I have a responsibility to the folks that I know and the ones that I'm connected with and my subscribers. And if I can give you an edge, then you have an edge, right? We can't save everyone, but we can save the ones that we care about and that we know and that are connected in our circle. Gasoline storage. Fill up every vehicle that you have right now. And that includes your lawnmowers, that includes your chainsaws, that includes your generators, all of your cars, and start with that and keep them full. Now, the rule of thumb, what I would give you for gasoline is have an extra, a whole tank, a replacement tank for every vehicle you have. If your truck takes 25, 30 gallons, that's how many cans that you need. Your wife's car, the same way. Figure that out, and start with that. If you live in an apartment and you can't store fuel, maybe you get a few cans. Talk to somebody, talk to your neighbors who may is renting a small garage. Maybe for a small fee or for some bartering, you can store 5, 6, 10 extra gallons or cans in their garage. Just work it out. Do what you have to do. We're going to start needing each other more. This idea of being completely an island and isolated and doing everything on your own, I think that is a broken plan, and that's going to be changing. One final thought on the gasoline. The best way, I think, for most folks to store this is going to be in the 5-gallon cans. It's portable. Everyone can pick it up. You can put it in the back of any car. It's just handy. It's handy, and it stores very well. If you have the means to get the big tanks and you don't have these already, if you've got a forklift or a tractor where you can move them around, because you have to consider that with these big tanks. 8 pounds a gallon, 100 gallons a piece, do the math. They're super, super heavy. So if you don't have the means, don't fool around with these. If you do, it's probably your last day to get one. I called Coastal this morning. They still had a couple in stock. It's a local farm and ranch supply store. Look on Craigslist. 55-gallon drums. You can still order gasoline in 55. If you call some of your small independent stations, get it. Get those containers, especially the storage containers now. Number 2 is diesel. Diesel is appealing to a lot of folks because it does store better. This idea that it stores indefinitely That's not the case anymore. The new diesel has a lot of additives in it. It's not like the older stuff, and it does have a shelf life, and it does need to be stabilized as well. If you have diesel tractors or equipment or generators and such, you need to have that. Me personally, I carry 200 gallons of gasoline plus all my vehicles full, and 200 gallons of diesel split between the big tanks and the small cans, the 5-gallon cans. The gold standard of fuel cans are the Wavy and NATO cans. They're expensive. You're going to pay about $70 a piece for them, but it's a lifetime can. I don't think you're going to be able to buy these anymore unless you want to pay double, and I wouldn't do that. I'm going to put some links to some alternatives that are not as good, but way more affordable. You can buy currently 5-gallon of the race jugs like we have. I'll put links to these things down below so you could help you. There's a 4-pack that you can get for around $100, and that's 20 gallons of gas. You know, so for most people, if you had those 4 cans, they're good. They're plastic, but they're really high quality, and I've had a set that it's been around here for 20 years or so. So that's a good alternative. Have you bought stabilizer? I keep a couple gallons on hand. 1 gallon of stabilizer will take care of about 350 gallons of fuel. So figure out how much you need. I went on this line this morning and bought 5 gallons of this, and I got the last 5, and everything was out after that. So if you can find this at the store, the stabilizer, make sure you have this. The third critical fuel you're going to want to have on hand is, of course, your propane. Propane is so nice because it is ageless. It doesn't go bad. It lasts indefinitely. It is vulnerable to fitting failures. Perfect example, when I had the 2 500-gallon tanks brought in here, I had those isolated, as I've said in past videos. In case a valve or a fitting were to fail, I wouldn't lose the entire thing. Now, propane is really great for homesteaders and such because of the shelf life, for one, but also you can convert all of your critical infrastructure stuff, like your generators that you're using to run your furnace, that you're using to run your refrigeration. Those can all be converted. I've got a 16 kW whole house generator that runs off of these propane bottles right here. And the interesting thing about that is when you run a gas engine off of propane, it's really clean. You can change the oil after 100 hours or so, and it'll just be that perfect golden color. There's very little wear and tear on it. So propane is a really good option. Make sure your campers, your gas grill, any spare bottles you have, any spare bottles that you can still buy, get those filled up and have them on hand. A quick word on RVs, campers, trailers, fifth wheels. These are really, really great lifeboats. And a lot of you guys are already gonna have these. If you have any disposable income right now, I would buy one. If you can buy something used, if you can find it, they're getting harder and harder to find. Arctic Fox folks, we got one of like the last campers, and I think they're completely, most of that stuff is completely gone now, along with everything else in this country. The RV is a great lifeboat in that it's completely independent, especially for you folks that live in these hot climates. Some places in Texas and Florida and California, you know, they're uninhabitable without power, electricity, air conditioning, and refrigeration. It's just too darn hot. And when those things are interrupted, and we can look at these things happening, I mean, those are a lot of folks going to be in dire situations. I mean, just look at Texas. I understand that there was a freeze there, but what it demonstrates is that any little hiccup, anything out of the norm in the supply system, it puts people in a tough spot. What's so cool about the RVs is that if you're in a situation where it's just unattainable and you got to get out, you've got someplace to go. And you've got a self-contained unit. You've got propane, which is going to power a propane refrigerator in most of these. So if the power goes out, which I think it's going to, we can look at rolling blackouts in the hotter states with the hotter climates. At least you can put your food in somewhere. If you have propane on hand, you can keep your food cold. What are you going to do if you can't keep your food cold and you live in these hot climates? And you can't get ice and you can't get refrigeration? Just try to buy a refrigerator right now. I mean, things are getting really bad, guys. You really need to wake up and get your house in order. The fourth fuel a guy is going to want to have on hand is, of course, cordwood. Ask the folks in Texas that lived through the frost what a cord of firewood would have been worth to them last winter. There are guys in this area. Now, typically, cordwood is going to sell, if you buy it delivered for a cord, $200, pretty standard, maybe $150 in the summertime. I'm seeing guys asking for it. I don't know if they're getting it. $350, $400 and even up to $600 for a cord of firewood delivered right now. What do you think it's going to cost next winter when everyone's wanting it? I'm just saying right there. So how much does a guy need? I personally keep, at this place, I have 15 cords cut, stacked, and split, ready to go. Most families, if you're heating with firewood, if that's your primary source of heating and you're home all the time, you've got someone home all the time, probably anywhere from 7 to 12 cords of firewood is what a family's going to burn to keep warm, if that's your only form of heat. If you're using it for supplemental, fireplace, wood stove, you know, I don't think most families are going to go through more than a cord or so. So adjust accordingly, but get it cut, split, and drying right now before winter comes, or it's just not going to be an option. The fifth and final fuel you're going to want to have on hand is kerosene. If you don't know what kerosene is or why you would possibly want that, then you probably don't need it. For those of us that do know, it stores a long, long time. It's very good for lamps. It's very good for heating oil, lots of different things. It could be used in a pinch for diesel vehicles, but it's very stable and it's got a lot of BTUs in it. I personally carry 25 gallons. You guys know what you need to do. Get everything while you still can. It's a man's responsibility to look after his family. I was thinking about what I said about the women. I know there's going to be some people that take issue with that. I know that we have a lot of strong, independent women out there. But let's get down to brass tacks here. You can be a strong, independent woman in a first world country. You cannot be a strong, independent woman in a third world country. And that seems to be where we're going. If you can't fix a broken water pipe, if you can't change a transmission, if you can't run heavy equipment, if you can't problem solve, if you can't figure out solutions, if you can't fix furnaces, leaks in roofs, all those sorts of things, you want to be with someone that can. That's all I'm saying. So do what you have to do. Might be time to settle and lower your standards a little bit and get yourself in a position where you can weather difficult times, because I think things are going to get worse rather than better. Thanks for watching. Don't lose hope. Keep God first. Pray for one another constantly. Have hope that Jesus will return soon, but occupy, prepare, and do what you need to do to get through this and protect you and yours the best you can. Thanks for watching. Keep us in your prayers. May God bless you and your families. We'll see you all in the next video.
Your heart is dark as a hemlock grove, where the sun never shines and nothing grows, black as each feather in a murder of crows.